wonderful, familiar faces, so many people that I've loved and known for so long, largely through my dad. I was just going to mention two things that have been really pivotal for me throughout all this. One was, when we moved away, we stopped seeing as much of my dad, even though it was like an hour and 20, just you just get busy. But this last year, basically from about the summer on, we were able to get more visits together. We were able to get together for Father's Day, and I have to thank Christella, who's my beautiful, wonderful sister-in-law, for facilitating that, because she had a lovely place in Los Gatos, and it was hard for me to try to get people to Brentwood because it's kind of a long day turn. So we had a wonderful party there for Father's Day, and I had no idea that my dad was going to take a turn anytime soon at this time. And we were early on in the party, and Frank, she has a few different beautiful seating areas, and so Frank was sitting there, and then I had this great chance. Lynn was talking with Uli, and I had a chance to just sit, just my dad and I, for close to an hour in that gathering. And it was like, we were kind of bantering and stuff, and I said, hey, I've mentioned this to you before, but I really want to take this time to tell you something. And I want you really to listen. And he was like, oh, okay. And I set him up with a cocktail, and we were just really relaxed and sitting in the sunshine. And I just said, I really want you to know how pivotal you've been for my life. There's specifically several junctures where I was at forks in the road in my life, and literally sliding doors moments, where I could have gone one way. And there was at least 3 of those where strictly, almost entirely because of him, tremendous things happened for me, whether it was getting into the college I wanted, whether it was a study abroad program, things that people said, oh, you can't do that because you don't have this or that. And he just said, hold on, how can we do it? That's all I'm asking. And he helped me figure it out. So I felt like I was able to live large in these ways because he had done that, and he exposed me to so many things. So I told him that day, and I really had his hand, and I was like, my favorite song is Ripples by Genesis. And why it's so meaningful to me is because, these ripples go out and they don't really come back. I said, but what that means for me as it relates to you is that you sent these ripples out for me that carried me through my life in these amazing ways that wouldn't otherwise be possible. And I need you to know how much that means to me. You literally saved me on multiple occasions. And he was just, beaming. And it was one of those things where you don't want to look back and say, oh, I wish I would have said that. And Frank was there, we really were talking about that. And then the final thing I was going to mention is that, like I said, I didn't know that this was going to happen. It was pretty quick. But a couple weeks before, we were on the peninsula and we were going to head back up to Brentwood. And I just suddenly was like, I just need to see my dad, and Ron's like, whatever you need, it's okay. And he was okay with Lynn, so I called Lynn. I said, really short notice, are you okay with us stopping by? And she said, well, I don't have a lot on hand. I said, we'll bring everything. Can we just come, So we went and we brought champagne and tapas, and we sat, and Lynn sat us down nicely in the living room. And that was the last time I saw my dad. And in that visit, my daughters were there, and they didn't have their phones. It was one of the first times that they were really engaged. And Lynn and my dad were talking to Sierra about art and ideas about art. For the first time ever that this kind of dialogue had happened, and she was talking about, do I really need a formal education if art's what I love? And Lynn and Dad were like, you need to know what to do art about. It's about ideas, And it was just really heavy that this quality of interchange was the last time I saw him. And I remember I was sitting really, really close to him, like almost on his lap. I just was like, really need my dad, And I remember topping his champagne glass off and him just looking at me with just a beautiful beaming smile. And a similar smile in one of the slides, which just, And so at the end, and Murray used to always say, do you notice, he said this for about the last 10 years, he said, did you ever notice that when we say bye to Dad, he watches, he watches us, until we're completely gone, and he'll go like this at the end, And I said, what do you mean? He said, he does that because he doesn't know if that's going to be the last time he's going to see us, So that last day, there he was. Aww. And that's my memory. My wonderful, wonderful dad. Aww.
is so moving. I have a daughter, and I just lost my spouse also. We were good friends of Harry and Lynn for a long time, but I'm Charlene Archibek, and what I want to tell you is, as a music professor at San Jose State for 35 years, Harry reached out to me and invited me to talk to his students a number of times. Is anybody else here who was on the faculty at San Jose State at the same time I was? See, this is amazing. I thought somebody has to represent San Jose State because he was so collaborative. I don't know how he got this idea, but he said, Charlene, when I go to your concerts and I see the way you place your singers in different places in the church or in the concert hall, it shows me how important a space is. And I want you to talk to my students about how you envision space. And so, I don't know what year this all started. I came there in 1970, and I guess we were friends from then on. And he used to come to my house for dinner. One day he called me and said, I want you to meet Sam Richardson, and he set up a lunch. And I met him in Palo Alto, and we had lunch together for 2 or 3 hours. And he was so kind to invite me and my husband to his house and share wine in his studio. And of course, I remember the Berlioz because he was so proud of that huge painting. And I really wanted to buy it since it was music and it was close to my heart. But it was a little bit big for my living room. Great painting. I loved his work. And of course, I have one of Lynn's work in my living room. I just moved, and it has a very special spot in my house, and I wish I had one of Harry's works. I'll never forget Harry, again, because of his all-encompassing mind. It wasn't just that he was kind, he just saw things in a way that very few other people did. And I was so happy that he introduced me to so many of the fine artists on our faculty. We had a great art faculty at San Jose State. We were all so proud of that department and the fact that it was impacted, because everybody wanted to get in. It's not like a lot of other departments. Our department made us so proud, and I was so proud to know Harry and to all the hard artists that he introduced me to and that have enriched my life. And so I just wanted to share that from the faculty. I'm so one of the few who's alive right here doing it. So thank you all for being here. And all
Lynn, thank you for being so wonderful to him for all those years. He truly found happiness with you. You were a business for him. We love you.
It's great to see everybody here, and I thought about the great Yogi Berra, who said that if you don't go to other people's funerals, nobody's going to come to yours. So he must have gone to a lot of funerals. It's great to see you all here. I wanted to start by a definition that I ran across some time ago, and I shared it with him, and he said, that is just perfect. It was by one of our shared heroes, Christopher Hitchens. And he said, death is certain, replacing both the siren song of paradise and the dread of hell. Life on this earth, with all its mystery and beauty and pain, is then to be lived far more intensely. We stumble, we get up, we are sad, confident, insecure, feel loneliness and joy and love. There is nothing more, but I want nothing more. And Harry did all of those things more than anybody I know. He enjoyed, he lived, he loved, he shared so much with everybody, which is why so many of you are here, obviously. When I was a kid, I remember a memory of opening up a refrigerator and opening the top of some Tupperware and there were some baked beans that had been in there for far too long. And they were covered in green mold. And so I held them and I was like, oh dear. And he walked up and he looked down and he said, don't think about what that is. Just look at the color and the texture. Look how beautiful that is. And I remember looking down and thinking, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? I was like, okay, all right, drink. It took me some time to figure that out. Growing up with him as a father was very different. It was very different indeed. I remember coming home in junior high school having had a fight, and I had a fat lip and a black eye, and he said, what happened? Why would you get into a fight? I said, because the guy called me a pussy. He looked at me and said, you should have said thank you. A pussy is the center of life. It's the center of the universe. It's the center of all love and pleasure. He called you the best thing in the world. Why would you hit him? And I remember I'm about 12 and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? There's no way I could go get through that. But when it did come to start learning about sex, and I was about 13 or 14, he pulled me aside. He didn't have a lot of advice. He was one of those that, kind of a Gary Cooper type, like his dad. But when it came to sex, he had some real advice for me. And he sat down and he said, first of all, condoms. But then he said, I'll never forget this line. I don't know why. He said, you have to make sure that the woman you're with is ready. I was like, okay. And so he did a little description of how you find that out. And I was taking notes. Okay, I was getting to the age where I want to know this now. And he looked at me and he said, whatever you do, just don't jump on her like a trucker. And every time I see one of those Peterbilts go by me on the freeway, I think, I'm sure there are some truckers who are better than that, but that line stuck with me. I never forgot it. And Frank and Larry and I grew up together, and we went to junior high school, and we didn't turn out all that well. We were out, doing stuff, and Frank and I decided we were going to cut class for about 2 weeks. I thought, if we're going to do it, let's really do it. So I went into the tennis lady, and I said, you wouldn't believe what we got. We're going to go to the Snake River Canyon to watch Evel Knievel jump over in that big motorcycle. It's going to be about 2 weeks, we're going to be gone. And she was so totally enamored. She thought, really? And somewhere I found a piece of memorabilia. I want to bring this back, and it's going to cover. So I kept going there and talking to her. Oh yeah, we're getting packed, getting ready. It's going to be great, The day before, Frank got greedy. Frank cut his English class the day before, and a note went down. So, of course, she got suspicious of Frank, not of me, of course. And we went out, and the next morning we got up, and we went out, so we got a bag of weed, and we got like 400 Snickers bars, and we were like ready to go for the whole day. And we went out, we got baked, and we hung around on the bridge, and we did all this dumb shit. And then we came back, we come back home, and Harry's there. And wasn't used to seeing him there. And he looked, so how are you guys doing? Like, we're okay. He said, I'm just going to go to my room. So we went back to our room, and there was a note on the door that said, you must be very tired after your trip to the Snake River Canyon. Go ahead and go in this room and don't come out until somebody gets you. And you're like, oh, shit. But he told me later on, he said, I really wanted to discipline you, but part of me thought, that was fucking great when he did that. That was a great story he pulled off, And a little bit later on from that, Frank and I also decided to grow some weed ourselves. Why buy it? So we started growing our own weed, and Frank set up these little, we got a bunch of Dixie cups, put some dirt in them, put some seeds, and we lined them up. We had them in Frank's closet with a glue. Now, why we thought his mother or somebody would check his closet, who knows, he's a kid. And we had a bunch of, I had a bunch of them on the roof. And so here we were watering them. Well, his mother found them, of course, and she went to Harry and she said, you know, why don't you do something about this? And he said, okay. So we didn't hear anything. We just kept watering these little plants, and, you know, they started to sprout. We're like, okay. Well, what the evil guy had done was he'd gone in, he picked out our seeds, and he planted carrots. So we're there cultivating, and those sprouts are going, and we're like, yes, oh, look at this, we got, kind of funky looking, but okay, and then grew a little more, and they're like, okay, well, done that. And then our friend Jack Olden came over, and he looked at them. I'll never forget this line. I was like, does this look right to you? This looks funky. And Jack looked at him, I swear to God, Jack looked at me and said, that's okay, dude, that's Colombian. So we took Jack at his word, and pretty soon we pulled him out, and these fucking white carrots hanging in there, you know? That's kind of an unusual way to I don't think there are many fathers that would do that. And I used to come home drunk when I was a kid, and later on I moved to Los Gatos, and I was working around, and you know, I'd get baked. And I'd put a meat pie in the oven, and then pass out. And one morning I woke up, and I got out, and I was kind of hungover, and I walked out, and there was a perfect meat pie, charred black. It was just perfectly black at the top. But he put it on a frame. And he wrote one word underneath a piece of paper, one word, it said, masterpiece. I thought, really? Okay, that's what we're doing. So I started seeing this girl, and Kiki and I were, and the three of us were living there. I started seeing this girl, we started going back in my bedroom, you know, like you do. And I noticed he didn't want Kiki to get the wrong idea, so he started sweeping outside my window, just to, you know, and I'm trying to, you know, and he's there, so like, okay, he's making this difficult. Yet when Kiki got a boyfriend, no problem for him, right? He went back, he let the boyfriend go back in Kiki's room, no problem. So I come up, I said, here, you know, I'm trying to do some work over here, and you're messing it up, and then, you know, with Kiki, what's the problem with that? He looked at me and he said, here's the thing. Kiki's at an age, she's come to the age where she's going to want to take her bra off. And when she wants to take her bra off, I don't want her to do it in the back of a car. I don't want to do her somewhere else. I want her to be able to do it in her own space, in her own home, where she's in control of the situation. And I never forgot that he said, take her bra off. I mean, there's so many things you could say. So many possible ways to phrase that. But that was how he felt. That was how he felt about Kiki. She had her own space, and this guy came in and out, and I'm like, you know, what's up with me? But that's kind of how it worked. I moved to England. He was so supportive of me. He helped me with money, and I was working as a photographer, and I had this little studio, and there was a phone that was hooked up somehow to the phone company that wasn't billed. It wasn't being metered. Somebody had left it behind, they forgot to turn it off. So I sat there for hours. He and I talked for hours. It's really when we became really, really close, because we just sat there and could talk, and he was dating and I was dating, and we were, you know, going through. We were really friends. You know, we were really, really good friends, and that relationship started then and carried on to the very end. And I wanted to learn a lot of art, and my love Nasrin was, she had done this drawing. There's a drawing she loves to work with charcoal. And she did this drawing of Elvis, and she couldn't get the hand right. And so he was over, and I said, hey, could you show us how to do this hand? You know, hands are hard. And he looked at her and he said, you don't have to have a hand. Just write the word hand in a box. It's okay. I was so pissed off. I was like, that's not what we're asking. We're looking for technique. And afterwards, Nasrin came to me and she said, you got to understand, I think you know what he meant. He wanted to encourage me as an artist And what he wanted me to do was to not get hung up because I couldn't do a hand properly. Not to let that be an obstacle. And let me continue to grow and as an artist. And I never forgot how well you figured that, because I didn't see that. I was just like, you could have showed us how to do a hand, you know? I mean, for Christ's sake, you're like a professor. You should know how to do a hand, you know? It's like, so we went through that. But thank you all for being here. And I hope some of you that maybe didn't know each other might have shared a story with somebody that you didn't know about him, because so much of what he did is going to live on in all of us in this room and beyond. I don't know what more you can ask of a life that you live on in the hearts and minds of other people, you know, and that's really what he did. So I wanted to just close and by doing as he always liked to do. He loved Ulysses by James Joyce. And I remember asking at one time, I said, did you ever really read it? Or did you just like to talk about it? Did you just use that to kind of get laid, or is that what it was? And he gave me that look that said, both, actually, without saying anything. But the most wonderful time of my dad's life was the last 30 years with Lynn.
Absolutely.
It was the most beautiful time. He was so incredibly lucky to have run across her. He was so incredibly lucky to meet her and to forge that relationship. And she made his life beautiful. And he used to call it the life of Riley. And I'd say, hey, they're never making doodads. You know? In fact, we'd had this guy, when he and I were living in the 70s, one quick thing, this guy came over, and he was an heir to the guy that invented the aerosol can. And he had more money than Christ, right? He had money, he was a big time banker or whatever he was. And he came over to Harry's studio where we were living, and he came around, he was looking around, he was thinking about maybe buying some art. He looked around, and he looked at Harry and he said, must be a lot of fun sitting around here making doodads all day. And Harry looked at him and said, it is. It's a lot of fun. So we joked about doodads for the rest of our days. And he was able to make doodads and paint and do the best art of his life. And how many of us will have the last days of our lives be the best days? And that was really because of Lynn. So he told me that one of the things he loved to do with Joyce was periodically just to open up a page randomly and just get an inspiration or get an idea. So I did that, and I kept flicking through until I found one that really resonated with me. And he bought a nice shawl for Lynn one time, and that I really liked, and this just came out to me. It said, Father Conmee doffed his silk hat and smiled as he took leave at the Jet Beads for